So, Mike, we're talking 6 weeks after we last kicked a ball. Now that the dust has settled, can you just reflect on last season a little bit?
Obviously, the outcome wasn't what we all wanted. We set out quite clear that we wanted to make the playoffs. We reviewed that twice in the season. Obviously, the loss to Newcastle Blue Star here was Jimmy's last game. It looked then a really, really uphill task. But we ended the season on a massive positive with Cowps and Flinney coming in, winning the last three, winning them in style as well, I might add, with the highlight being the away game at Marsk where we took record numbers. So, look, not the outcome that we wanted. First year in a brand new league, we had to get to grips with it quickly. Missed out on fine margins again, but in reality, that just whets the appetite even more. It hurt at the time, and I saw it as a little bit of a failure. But there's plenty of beauty in last season.
And there was a lot of talk about the challenges we were going to face going into the Northern League. Is it what you expected?
It's exactly what I expected. I have to say publicly, I really like the league. The only thing that we don't like as a business is the associated cost of being in it. I didn't go to a away game that I didn't enjoy. Everyone salt of the earth, really, really good people. From a ground hopping point of view, it was nice to go and look at some different stadiums. I absolutely loved Tolhall Town. The 2 times we went there were both horrific weather. Just something about the place, something about the stadium. Just really, really good people. The standard of football was honest. It was what I call real football. Low risk in some respects. It really helped with fan engagement because there was tons of flashpoints in games. There was loads of opportunity to make contact, loads of balls into the box, loads of opportunities for keepers to come and make saves. It was just brilliant to watch at times when you're the right side of the result. Nothing against the North West Counties. Really enjoyed that level as well. But yeah, lots to love about the Northern League.
As we know, the league allocations have been revealed and it was announced we'll be in the Northern League again next season. What was your reaction when that was announced?
From a chairman's point of view, a little disappointed it shrunk down to 20 teams. That's only 19 home games, so it's less opportunity for us to obviously open his gates and make money. But then looking at the North West Counties, 24 is a lot, and that had been a lot of midweeks. That had been a lot of games off due to poor weather. That you're then in the situation that Charnock were in a couple of years back, where they're having to play 6 games in the last 4 weeks, maybe. So again, there's beauty in both. We'd have liked the North West Counties purely because it helps with recruitment, it helps with associated cost of travel. Obviously, fans travel to us in greater numbers when we're in North West Counties. We get the trip to the Isle of Man. But yeah, Northern League, that we're going to get to work with the players more on a Tuesday night now because the less midweek games. It gives an opportunity to revisit possibly entering the Westmoreland Cup or possibly the Lancashire Cup, so we can make up some home games there. So, again, there's positives in both, but overall, I wasn't surprised. We applied for the North West Counties. We felt we put forward a really good case again. But ultimately, the decisions don't lie in our hands, and we just have to react well to them.
And we'll be going into that next campaign with Matt Flynn in charge. Was he the standout candidate following his successful spell at the end of the season?
I always had a contingency if Jimmy was to leave. As the weeks went on without Lancaster appointing a manager, the chances of him being offered the job there obviously increased. It was always my opinion that your 2 most senior players need to take over the dressing room from a managerial point of view in the event that your manager leaves. I'm massive on continuity in life. I think that the more time you spend together, if everyone's of a positive mindset, you solve problems, you get ahead of problems. And the reaction of the players and the tweaks that Cowps and Flinney made to what was already a very, very good side, might I add, it was enough to get Flinney over the line.
And there were some comments on social media about the speed of the appointment, especially when we didn't know what league we were going to be in at that stage. Are you able to respond to that?
Listen, it's a really tough one because I think if we might have left it until the league allocations, we might have lost a couple of the applicants that did apply. That they'd have been swallowed up by other opportunities. Again, massive on continuity. We put that out as a bit of a prerequisite that whoever came in had to have the ability to retain the vast majority of our current squad. We know what we had last year was enough to finish 6th. We feel as if we can improve the group. We can then get to 5th and 4th, possibly, learn some lessons, tweak our operation. continue to develop on and off the field, we feel there's enough within this building to get over the line next year. So making wholesale changes, I think it'd set us back. And there were some really, really strong applicants, people from, within a close proximity of Kendal, people from outside of Kendal. Ultimately, we didn't have the appetite for a whole rebuild of a squad, which is what Jimmy had to do when he come in. So the applicants that applied, they all had differing strengths. One applicant was exceptionally strong in the Northern League, one was exceptionally strong Northwest Counties. Flinney had demonstrated ability as a player, and he's well connected in both. But Flinney's interview was superb. Tons of synergy there with myself and Matt and other committee members. And I'm not going to say he was the safe choice, but he was the one that came across exceptionally well in interview, and we knew we'd be able to manage in both leagues.
And you mentioned there that we've managed to retain the core of the squad, although there have been a few notable departures, but we send them off with the best of luck.
Yeah, so Stephen Yawson's played here for 3 seasons. He's been the best player in the league. Obviously, it's well documented that Stephen lives in Liverpool. His logistics are really challenging, and we can't forget that he's a human being first and foremost. If he can get a better deal elsewhere, if he can go and play at a better level, then we can't stand in the lad's way. And I'm a big advocate of Stephen. I think he could play a lot higher now, and hopefully he gets to do that. We had a flag made for him last year. We gave him that on the last home game as a thank you, because Stephen could have left us a long time ago and earned more money elsewhere, and he showed a lot of loyalty. And similarly with Jim Craig, Jim's a really, really good young player. If he goes to Lancaster and plays well for 10 consecutive games, I can see EFL clubs coming in for him, no problem. I'm absolutely gutted to lose both of them. But ultimately, we've got to know what we are. We're a Step 5 club. If Step 2, Step 3 comes calling for our players, we've got to be supportive of that, and we've got to use them as case studies for young players in this area, or players playing slightly beneath us. That if you come to Kendal Town and you play 50% of your games on a good pitch, and with our coaching philosophy and what the ethos of our club is you can have a really good chance to progress. So, delighted for both of them as a human being. Gutted that they're not going to be in Kendal shirts next year. But yeah, we'll monitor both their careers and genuinely wish them all the best. And I'm glad we've got the friendly ear with them, be able to shake their hands and say well done to them. And yeah, I know our fans will react really well to that. But yeah, best wishes all the way.
In terms of our own recruitment, no new faces yet, but presumably a lot of work going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm really happy with where we're at, to be honest. Pre-season starts on the 16th of June. It's going to be very coy. So I know Flinney, Cowps are in for players. Players are always trying to see, what's the best deal they can get for themselves. We've got some really, really good, young, exciting players coming to pre-season, and they'll get maximum opportunity in those earlier games. But I think it's going to be a really fluid situation. I think things are going to fall into place. We're working hard on the recruitment side. Flinney's never off the phone. But I'll maintain what we have was good enough to finish 6th. We've kept the goals that are in the team, and they've not gone anywhere. They're Kendal Town players. We've kept the spine of the team. We've still got a very, very good goalkeeper at this level. I think I get it from a fan's point of view. You'd like to see 3 or 4 signings that really whet the appetite. But don't overlook the retentions. There are a lot of clubs in for our players, and we've managed to keep them. And I don't think we're 4 or 5 short. I think we're 1 or 2 short, and possibly a little bit of depth. But some of the players that we were looking at back end of season in the 18s, 23s, players that playing just beneath us in this area, I'm predicting 1 or 2 are going to come through and make a massive impact this year, and they will be more valuable to us than going out and stealing someone's best player and having to pay a lot of money for them.
Yeah, you mentioned the under-23s and 18s there. It was great to see them both win their respective leagues last season, and we even saw some break into the first team. How important is it for you to continue to develop that pathway?
Absolutely massive. It's something that was always lobbied at Kendal Town prior to me getting back involved. It was something that I heard when I was here under Lee Ashcroft and his coaching team, that the demand of the town is it wants more local players in the team. And listen, I completely agree. And that's why we've brought in the 18s and the 23 with Mike and Mick, who have both done an amazing job. I've not watched the 18s as much as I would like to. I did watch them back end of season. I'm obviously here for the 23s games. There's some really talented lads in there, and the best time for them to come through is actually being there on day one of pre-season, putting the work in, playing in the games against your Catons, your Fulwood Hams, and whoever else were playing early on in pre-season, and growing into the role. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of that element of the club, and it does come at cost. Having another team play on here, we don't charge admission for the 23s. You might get a few people come up and have a cup of tea or a beer. It doesn't cover the costs of, but we've got to be about sporting opportunity as well, and to give the best platform for the young players of this area to come through and represent Kendal Town for both our men and our women is really, really important to us as a committee.
Yeah, away from the men, it was also a fantastic season for the ladies team who finished third in their division. How pleased are you to see their progress?
The women's team are a bundle of fun. I find them quite intriguing, to be honest. My daughters both play Sundays. My eldest is getting to the point where she's almost of an age where she can come and play for Kendal Town. So I don't get to see them play as often as I'd like. But growing every year, and Chris Miller's a really good bloke. He puts a lot of time and effort in. And yeah, Chris and I will sit down over the course of pre-season, and probably time to start setting some targets for the women's team that, we want them to progress. We want them to go and play a league higher. We're working hard at the moment trying to put together an under-18s women's team for next season. We're just struggling to find a suitable league for them at the moment. But ultimately, yeah, the more people running around on this pitch in Kendal Town kit and putting in best efforts, that's just success for all of us.
Now, we're talking ahead of season tickets being released. How does the growth in support rank in your achievements as chairman?
Well, I can't take half at credit for that. That's a massive team effort. That's what we put on a match day. That's everyone in the kitchen, the bar. That's everyone, the stewards around the ground. Yourself with the language that we use on social media and how we promote ourselves. But ultimately, the growth of the club, it's not where it needs to be, because we have associated costs of being in the stadium. Although we don't own it, we have to renovate it. We have to pay for repairs. Everyone will be aware that the cost of everything is going up. We have to work harder to attract more fans. And the next challenge for us really is, we've gone from tendering to 200 fans on a home game, and it being quite a pleasant experience, to it's difficult tendering to 600-700. But we actually need 700 and 800. So we're in that transitional period, going from a club run solely by volunteers and not quite being big enough for employees to actually, we probably need to look at the employee model, because it's too much for volunteers. And there's only so much goodwill and free time that people have got. And the growth of the club is something I'm very, very proud of, but I am conscious that it's getting really tough for people as well.
And it's not just our supporter base that's grown, but also relationships with the community. Is building connections with local businesses still high up on your list of priorities?
It's absolutely massive, and there's no getting away from the fact that 4 years ago we inherited the club in a really poor state in terms of finances and reputation. I'd like to think that reputation's improved. It's still not where I want it to be. We have got a thriving social media presence, which does record numbers in terms of engagement. There's still more we can do. There's still a bigger part that Kendal Town can play in the community. I look around the ground and there's tons of opportunity for sponsorship, affixed to the stand and down the sides of the pitch. And, ultimately we do want to work with businesses, not just for our benefit, but theirs as well. We do enjoy big attendances here. Social media is absolutely banging. It's a good opportunity for businesses to get the name out and about in the local community. But I have, obviously I have to be honest. I appreciate that there's a lot of choice in Kendal. You've got a lot of other sports or other clubs at our level that are also got the begging bowl out at times. So I don't overly want to be too aggressive with it. We want relationships to be organic. We have got plans to do some business engagement over the summer months. And yeah, ultimately, the more business people we've got involved with this club, whether it's as sponsors or joining the club's board and helping us with strategy and decision making, clubs at this level can't run with one or two people. It has to be a whole body of of talent and people with expendable time, and that's just something that people just haven't got in abundance right now.
And finally, as we move towards the new season, what would your message be to the supporters?
Stick with us. I'm really, really excited for the release of the fixtures. There were some great away days last year, and I really enjoyed the away games. That's when, as volunteers, we don't have any responsibility. Home games are hard work, but Marsk away was a great day. The weather obviously helped in the scoreline, but we're going to continue to evolve. Putting live music on after home games was a massive plus, and a massive well done to Ellie and Sharon who lead on that project. We want this place to be the football hub of our area. We want people to come here and feel safe with the families and children included in that. And yeah, we're working hard to put together a winning team for both the men and the women at respective age groups. And stick with us. I don't feel as if we're halfway to where we could be, but ultimately it takes more than one or two people to make a club of this size a success. It needs everyone. So please don't underplay the part that you play, even if you just come and pay on the gate and buy a program. It's massively appreciated, and we need more of you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike.
No worries.